we are going to use, so the next how to check, or we can say get username and password of your SSH service with the help of Metasploit. So let's suppose what exactly we have that. In that same case, first you need to know about your victim machine's IP. So this is my victim machines, and the IP of the victim machines is something like 202. So this is my victim machine's IP. So we need to verify these SSH are running or not over the victim machines, right? So notice now what we have that, if you notice now, so we have a service open on SSH over which machines? In my case, we have victim machines. Guys, clear with that, right? So here you can verify, and now I'm going to attack this machine to gather my user and password of SSH service. What is the SSH exactly? So this service allowed to take remote login from one host to another host. Now what Metasploit exactly? So we can say it's like a tools, and or we can say the command, right? That have a lot of payloads. Payload means we can say like a command and tool, that inbuilt command and tool that help you to extract, exploit any kind of devices. We can say the network devices, maybe the Linux, Windows, router, switches, Android based machines. We have a lot of things, right? Now one more point maybe ask in the interview, right? So when we run the Metasploit command, it's like command, right? So that command have a lot of things that have a database, right? So Metasploit use a PostgreSQL server to store their data and all those things. So always remember, when we are trying to run the MSF console command, we can say the Metasploit console command, to make sure the service should be running. Which service? We can say the PostgreSQL, right? So before run that, run a command like this command, systemctl status and then the service name. Make sure the service should be running, right? If you think it's not in the running state, in my case active status. So if you think it's not in running state, so what I can do that? Simply restart that. Correct? So after restart that, just launch your MSF console in that way. Hit enter. Okay, I'm an attacker, right? And I wanted to exploit your system. Maybe any of your system, we can say that, right? So I know your user, I know your IP of your machines. We can check with the help of nmap command, and I also know that like your service are open. Which service? SSH. But I need to exploit and I need to verify those things. Just hit enter. Okay, so if you notice now what we get, that when we run this MSF console command, here we got that particular console like that, right? I can simply run a command like search and just show me any SSH related things. So I'm just searching in my Metasploit console, right? Just hit enter. If you notice now, here we get a lot of things related to this particular SSH, right? So here I need to search about that exploit or auxiliary that help to find, right? What I need to do that help to find those user and password. If you notice now, we have this payload, right? Payload number 45, if you remember, right? So we have two options, right? Either you can use simple use 45, or what you can do that, use and then the auxiliary under the scanner, right? Under the SSH, what we have that under the SSH, correct? And then we have a SSH underscore login. So just hit enter. If you notice now, so we are into this particular auxiliary. So what I'm going to do that, we are using this scanner now, right? And inside it, what options or what argument we need to mention to exploit or to search my victim machine user and password, right? So for that, just mention that show options argument to check that. So if you notice now, we have these options entirely, right? So in this payload, these are options are available. We have blank password, right? If you think, right, if we think, or maybe anything, key victim machines have no password and all those things, what I can use that blank password. But again, in the real world, blank password is not going to mention those, right? So try blank password for all users. If you think that there is no password maybe on the victim machines, you can skip those blank password mechanism, right? Brute force speed means what we can say, the speed that are going to attack. So from 0 to 5 is by default set that, right? And if you have a like database credentials, password, users, so you can mention that way. So this is for the database credentials. And if you think that I know that your password, but I don't know username and all those things, so I can simply mention those password, the specific password to authenticate with the same, right? So if you know that password, then you can authenticate, mention the password, right? Either if you don't know the password, then what you can do that, you can simply create a plain text file, and inside that mention those password, and then mention in the pass file argument. So what we can do that, pass underscore file abc something, and then here you can mention like Ram, like that, Ram, Ravi, Raj, sorry Ram, so sorry, it's not a username. So 123 red hat something admin 1234 some kind of password you can mention that, right? So what we can say, this is my password for the same file. So if you like file, you can mention that, right? I'm going to set the remote host, correct? So what options we have that what command we have that, simple set our host, right? And then your victim machine's IP. So notice now is set that, correct? And I as an attacker, I think so your service running on which port number? 22. How we can verify that? You can simply scan those attacker system, hit enter. If you notice now the service port number, right? And what's the port number? Because many times maybe admin change their port number because it's a default port number. If you think that they change something port numbers, what you can do that, you can also change the port number. How we can change that? You can simply set remote port, R port, but in my case it's running on which port number? 22. So I just leave as it is, correct? So this is my R host and R port. Now the next option what we have, that stop on success. It means what? So let's suppose when the system, or let's suppose when my tool find the username password, then it will stop. So it means you need to mention that stop on success true. So in that case, what you can do that, you can simply set stop on success what? True. If you notice now what they have that, okay with that, right? So what we mentioned, the stop success is equal true, right? The number of concurrent speeds, so just make it 1 for the one host and all those things. Now again, we are not sure about what's the username and password of my system. In my case, let's suppose these are systems, right? So this is a username, specific a single user. Now we have again option for the user pass file. It means what? It means this file contain two things, user and also their password. Like suppose we have a username admin and then with a single space their password. Clear? The user password means a single file that is store user password with a separated guys. Clear with that? If you notice now about this argument, what they are mentioning, a file contain user and password separated with the spaces, one pair per line, correct? So in that case, we need to use that file that have a user and password in the same file, right? I'm going to simple perform those commands. So what command we have that and what argument we have that? In my case, I have a file. So set user, right, password file, right? What we have that, and where we have file under the root, that name is Mirai user password text. It means what? It means when we run this command or when we run this exploit, the systems are going to verify user and password from this particular file. Here it is. So what we set that? We set my remote host, my remote port number. So that's all. We set everything. Run exploit command. You can just mention exploit or you can mention those, right? So when you hit enter, it trying to attack on these machines and trying username and password that you mentioned from this file. Either you can mention the run or either you can mention the exploit. Hit enter. Nice. So trying to put forth and everything. If you notice now it's printing that. So we have username. They are trying username, password, username, password. So these are going to show with the help of verbose mechanism that we mentioned that, right? To print output from all the times. Right? So if you notice now we have like minus that enable that failed to verify those things, and at the end if you notice now here we got a plus symbol, it means the success. So here we got a success, the username and then the password. The username is root and the password is 123, correct? So this is my user ID, group ID, the contacts, then the machine's name, their kernel, their date and time, everything will show that. It means what? It means we're trying to log in there, then what I can do that I can simply use SSH root at 10.10.10.202 and what's the password? 123. Here we log in that inside the machine. It's a simple process. Okay. Now the next what we have, the next point, to get user and password of your victim machines with the help of responder. Right now, so what responder we have that? It's a tool, it's a utility, right? That broadcast or any kind of service. We can say the attacker create or run a responder, right? The responder will broadcast the service. Which services? So there are a lot of services. We can say again HTTP, SCP, NFS, Samba, lot of services we can say that, right? Look at that. So another word we can say, when we run this responder command, it will create a poisons for you. It's not a real services. Again, broadcasting is what I can say. It will broadcasting multiple services. We can say service broadcasting, right? So if any victim machines or any machines trying to access that service, so that prompting for the username pass is like a fake authentication we can say, right? So when you provide your authentications to access those services, you are getting error, but in that case your user and password are captured by your attacker machines, right? Let's suppose I'm just showing on the both machine, Windows and Linux both machines. So let's suppose Kali is my attacker machines and Windows 11 treating my as a victim machine. Okay, so this is my, let's suppose this is my victim machine, right? So we don't require any IP of your victim machines. From the server, do one thing, the simple broadcast the services, which service, any kind of service, right? First we need to install this package. Which package? This package yum install responder, correct? So when we install this package, the responder, right, we install those packages, and after that we got the responder and all those things. Now run a command. What command we have? That the responder -i and the interface name. It means what we are doing, that we have in config command and all those things, right? And in that we have interface that is like something this one, right? So over this network my responder command trying to broadcast, correct? So here simple run install this package and then run a command like responder -i and the interface name. Just hit enter. If you notice now, right, if you notice now, we are simple broadcasting the services. Which service we can say that we have like a HTTP something like that. Now just wait for, do not close these sessions now, right? It means we are broadcast, we already did with broadcasting steps and all those things, and now we need to wait for our victim that are going to access this application or this any services, right? So what we are doing there, we are responder nick interface is 0, then their network, then their IP version 6, any random addresses we are providing on this from which machines and all those things, right? Now if any victim machines trying to access any of the services, which services we are talking to, say that any of the services, if they are trying to access that, they may be capture with this parameter, we can say those authentications and then authorization sections, right? What we have that, open the run, okay, and here simple mention the backslash and then the IP addresses of your attacker machine. So when you hit enter, it prompting for the username and password. It means what? It means you are a authorized user maybe, right? And once you provide those authentication like something, so that password are going to capture over your attacker machine. So if you notice now, before submit that, if you notice now, here we got authentication. If you notice not authentication, if you notice now, they are trying to capture the hash value of this machine, the Windows based machine, correct? And once you submit this authentication of Samba, it's not going to log in there. Here we have some kind of permissions error, right? But if you notice now, right, here we got a authentication of RAM users, correct? And also it store a hash algorithm value in the log file, where we can verify the log file. So for that, let it run, open a new tab, right? And then search for this file, right? So responders.log under this path like USR share responder log sections, and here if you notice now, here we got a Samba log file. We have like 10 10 10 21. If you notice now, so if you notice now, when we cat those things, your file are stored in the, so this is my RAM username and this is a password, but this password in the hash algorithm format, or we can say in the interpret format. So we have a command, which command? John, right? That allow to play with that widget, right? Hit enter. If you notice now, what we have that, the RAM and then the clear. Let's suppose your attacker trying to access the HTTP service. Let's suppose that, right? HTTP service, right? If you mention the user like Sarah something and password something like Red Hat or something like that, or you just mention password is like cloud, CLOUD, right? It's not going to log in, that you are getting a blank page, but here you got a capture packet. If you notice now, Sarah, and this is a password. Again, password going to store where? In the log file, and here you got a different file, that name is HTTP service log file, correct? And if you notice inside this file, so what we have, that we have a Sarah user authentication. Now again you can use simple a John command, John the deeper, we can say that as well, and then the HTTP, hit enter. So here you got your user and then the password. So with the help of responder, what we can do, we can simple create poisons, right? And then the poison may affect if any machines trying to access you, or maybe in your network or somewhere else, accordingly what they can do, or they can access in the services. Okay, so now next what we have, that audit the policies, right? So next what we have, that audit password policy, we can say. What exactly this is, right? Let's suppose you are an ethical hacker, or we can say the auditor and all those things, right? In every company, maybe monthly or maybe every quarter, we need to audit the servers, maybe the servers or maybe the customer machine, maybe they depend on the different policy, right? So what that section, right? We are going to verify or audit the password policy, means the password length, the common password, the vulnerable password, there may be some kind of issues in the password, right? Everything, right? So we have a tool for the same. That tool allowed to find if there is a common password, they show in the plain text, right? If this is like a normal password, they show in the normal encrypted or TLF format basis, right? So depend on that, we have a tools and all. So depend on their credential, what we can do, we can customize those or we can check the password auditing mechanisms. Correct? Okay. So the tool we have like Loof Crack Pro, right? So with the help of that tool, what we can do, we can simple audit that password and then we crack that password. If that could be a vulnerable password or maybe it's not a complex password. So this tool show that password in the plain text, and also it will show the NTLM hash of that particular systems or that particular tools and mechanism. That. So let me log into my system. Okay, so what exactly we have then again, by default this package install. In my case, what I'm going to do that I'm going to simple launch those tools. Which tool we have that? The Loof Crack Pro, right? So I'm just launching those applications. Okay, that one, and here we got a console, and now you have to mention that like what you need to do with the help of this tool. So what I need, that I need to audit the password, right? Just click here. Now simple next, for this wizard I wanted to audit the password. Now they are asking that which host or OS wanted to audit those, Windows based machines or Linux based machines, right? So in my case I have Windows based machines, right? Either you can also scan your Linux based machines password as well. So I'm going to fetch the Windows base, simple fetch for the Windows. Okay, and then next step. Okay, and now what we have, that wanted to verify remote machines, right? And now after that, when you mention the remote machines, here they are prompting for the remote machine IP or name, right? So in my case we have a system, right, that have something server machines. What I'm going to mention, that we have machine like something 10.10.1.22. So what I'm going to mention, that I'm going to mention that host machines IP addresses, correct, right? And again, if you are a genuine or authorized user, so also you need a username and password to authenticate. Which username and password? Your Active Directory user, because all the users are over which machines? Active Directory. So in that case, what you can do, that you can simply mention your Active Directory. So in my case, we have a user. Either you don't have, then you can mention the next section. But I am authorized user, so for that, use a specific user. Which user we have that? So in my case, my company allow or give me the user, that is administrator, ADMINISA, right? And they give you the password for the same to audit those, right? And which domain this is, so we can see your domain name, something like that. Okay, so again, when you next on the same thing, now what exactly wanted to verify? The audit type. I need a quick, because it will take time, these authentications. I wanted to quick password mechanism, simple, that's all. Next, and now wanted to save a report somewhere else. You can also save a report in the CSV format or in the HTML format or somewhere else. Where you go to store that? The path, like in your C drive, users, admin, documents, something like that. Want to set somewhere else, then you can also set somewhere else. But now I'm not going to take a report. So but again, as an auditor, you need to generate a report, right? So and then display the password when auditing, yes, and then we have a display encrypted password hashes, yes, and then simple next it. So it's showing the review and all those things. Now when you wanted to run this auditing tool, run every 3 months or maybe so now let's suppose today is 28th August, I wanted to run on 31st August and all. So you can set the date and time like that. So simple set and then simple choose the date and time and all. But I want to run now. You can simply run this job immediately, and when you run this, it is showing to run that. If you notice, these are a review and then finish on the same terminal, it's going to run that. If you notice now, over that machines ch.com and 1.22 we have a total we can say 6 users, right? And in the 6 of users, they got a 5 user password, they cracked the 5, right? So if you notice now, what we have, that we have a user guest, so they are not going to show the passwords, like maybe the strong or maybe password is not set, right? But they have a NTLM hash, right? So what password they have, that they are going to show that. Then we have Martin, the password is Apple, the Sheila, the password is Tess, Jason, the security administrator is the password is password, right? So they show the password, domain, the NTLM hash, the NTLM password, and then the user ID, the machine's name or host name, and then the when they change their last password and all.